Oh, we love Tammy, and so I think Tammy's more eloquent. You're able to grasp the words better than I am. We would love to hear more about the obstruction charge that's being reviewed by the Supreme Court right now.
So the 1512 charge is an obstruction of an official proceeding charge, and it was originally enacted because of Enron and Ken Lay and all those execs at Enron sitting in the shredding rooms shredding all the evidence of their malfeasance, right? And that is what that was how the law was written to be interpreted in that way. You can't obstruct an official proceeding by getting rid of the evidence just because you know that they're going to come after you.
And Watergate is another example.
Right.
Yeah.
But this actual charge was created because of Enron.
Right.
Which affected my life personally because I live in Houston, Texas. I worked in Houston, Texas. A lot of businesses went under because of Enron. A lot of people lost their jobs, not just at Enron, but in other companies.
Yeah, people lost their savings, their life savings.
Everything. And and it was a real a stain on our city for what they did to everyone. So that, in my opinion, the law should be very narrowly construed, and they're trying to construe this in a very broad manner. So they want to try to fit anything they want to say, that anything that they say is obstruction of an official proceeding. But the law was written so that you couldn't take evidence and get rid of it, right? Nobody took evidence and got rid of it.
Because the event was going on.
Right.
So how is that even possible?
Right. Well, and quite frankly, the certification had been paused before there was ever a breach. See what I'm saying? So how are you obstructing an official proceeding if there's no proceeding happening?
Right.
Because it's been paused. That's, you know what I mean?
They were not officially sitting in Congress at the time.
It's a ceremonial process anyway, so that is not an official proceeding.
Right.
They use ceremonial boxes. Why is it ceremonial if it's an official proceeding? And those little nuances, that's how they get away with things in the legal world. Like, oh, well, it's not technically an official proceeding. Just like the J6 committee hearing was not an official proceeding. If it had been, they'd have had to save every record. They're not getting in trouble because they weren't an official proceeding. They didn't really have subpoena power, which is crazy to think that Peter Navarro is sitting in prison right now for not showing up to an unofficial committee hearing. Right? So that's how we know that we have a banana republic.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that SCOTUS will rule on our side in that, not just on our side, but in the American people's side. Because if something like this stands, it has a lot more broad implications for the precedent that's being set. Like the FISA warrantless searches, basically. I mean, they don't even have to go get a warrant from FISA anymore. Now they can just do it.
They can surveillance us anytime they feel like it.
Right.
Yeah. No official hoops to jump through. They just can do it at any time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that, again, and that was another one of those laws that was written to be misconstrued. It was written to be misconstrued.
Mm-hmm.
And so that they could take advantage of it in hopes that, nobody would notice. If they had maybe just charged a dozen people, it may not have ever gotten this far because nobody may have fought it. But they charged over 300 people, and they're still charging people, still arresting people on the obstruction of official proceeding charge.
Including President Donald J. Trump.
Right, but I mean, he was arrested for it a year ago.
Yeah.
Still today, they're making arrests for official proceeding. And that's not, how insane is it to think of how much money the American taxpayers are spending on these witch hunts for nonviolent crimes, for people that stood on the grounds, where there were 5 to 7 permits, if we want to be technical about it, on that day, right? There was 5 to 7 permitted events happening that day, and then what happened to those permits? Right. Were they yanked?
Right.
Does anybody know?
And some of the permits were on the grounds of the Capitol.
Right. Like the praying grandma, who just was convicted, was at a permitted event. Where she was at was permitted. She was permitted to be there. And then when the crowd came and they were kind of pushed forward, I don't know what really happened there because I haven't seen the videos, but But when the crowd came and they were pushed forward, I don't know, like on the map there shows an area where they were permitted to be, and then there was an area over here where other people were permitted to be. But that map didn't exist until these people started going to trial. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how was anybody who arrived at the Capitol that day to know where the permitted areas were and where they weren't? Because nobody was directing them. So,
For those who don't know, tell them who your husband is.
my husband is Brian Jackson. He is inmate number 385113 in the DC Gulag.
Tell them your Gives and Go, his Gives and Go to help out.
Our Gives and Go is givesandgo.com/support Brian Jackson. And we appreciate any help we can get. He doesn't really need a whole lot, but we do appreciate any help we can get.
Right, and just from standing at the vigil with Tammy, Brian is extremely humble, and it has been voiced by so many of the J6ers that are in the jail with him, what a leader he has been, what a support, and how very important he has been to each one of them while they're inside. So
he likes to make everybody feel welcome and comfortable. And he spent 10 years in a Texas prison, so he really does know what spending time inside is like. And most of these guys do not. They've never been charged with any kind of crime, much less going to sit in jail or going to prison. And they just have no idea what kind of world they're walking into. So as overwhelming as it is, he tries to make it a little less okay.
Right. So he's using his experience as just an invaluable tool to be of help and of service. And this is how we turn our tragedies around. You know, you don't have to have a tragedy if you help somebody else to know that they're not alone and help them through a tough time. And that's what a lot of these men are doing. And Brian has been a super leader in that. And Tammy's been a great leader and so important for all of us on the corner. And she speaks so much more eloquently than I do. So I thank you so much for explaining the charge better to us. God bless
Nicole
you.
does it way better than I do. But
No,
I'm
no,
taking
you do a
notes from
great
the
job.
good
You both
teacher.
do an amazing job. So we appreciate you so much.
You're such a fast learner.
Oh, thank you.
Admire your ability to
I
grasp.
do try.
Awesome. And tell everybody where they can go to get the Ashley Babbitt
You
t-shirt.
can go to the number 4, ashley.com, ASHLI. We have a lot of information up there about the J6 community, about what's happening in the courtrooms, about what's happening in Congress, and you can buy this awesome shirt.
Don't forget Roseanne Boylan.
That's right.
So,
on the back here. Oh,
yeah. Because I was talking to some of our officers last evening and they didn't know much about Roseanne.
A lot of people don't know a lot. I mean, Ashley was murdered on live TV, so they couldn't really cover that up. But they've done a pretty good job of covering up Roseanne, although there have been some very outspoken advocates for her. But, even more than people may not know about Roseanne, people have no idea about Benjamin Phillips and Kevin Greason. They have no clue.
Yeah.
Like, who are those guys?
Yeah, you want to
But they're
explain?
dead, too.
You want to explain and tell them a little
They
bit?
were murdered by Capitol Police. Well, it could have been Capitol Police. It could have been Metro PD. I don't know really who threw what grenade. But they were throwing CS grenades into the crowd. And these two gentlemen both had cardiac arrest due to the grenades exploding in front of their chests. So that is why you're not supposed to lob grenades into a peaceful crowd of protesters.
Amen.
Whether they're protesting something you like or not. The First Amendment isn't for what we like, it's for what we don't like.
Right. And so basically they were from all looks of it, we know that the investigation and the videos are still continuing, but for the looks of it, those hand grenades, those flashbangs, they excited the crowd. Because the crowd absolutely, it stunned everyone, and then people immediately were injured, and then the crowd surged forward, which a lot of us do believe that was intended.
Well, an OC spray is meant to agitate and disorient people.
Yeah.
So when you spray a bunch of OC spray into a crowd of people, and then you start lobbing flashbangs at them and shooting rubber bullets at them, and hitting old grandmas over the head with batons. I mean, I can't imagine what it was like that day because I wasn't there.
Right.
But I just feel like there was a major breakdown in communication. I think the Capitol Police and the Metro PD were probably as set up as the J6ers.
I think that the chemicals affected them just as much as it did the crowd of protesters.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so we're talking about the chemicals in the OC spray. They are intended to actually cause confusion. That stunning effect is also a confusing effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I just find it very hard to believe that every other day of the year, you know, police are screamed and yelled at and portrayed as people that cannot control themselves, right? Except for on January 6th, they did everything perfectly.
Right. It's amazing, isn't it? Suddenly they were superhuman.
Yeah.
And when you talk to the officers that were there, nobody feels like they were superhuman. They feel like it was a terrible day for everyone.
Right.
Most of the officers that I've talked to. And I appreciate where they are. Not only did many of the protesters suffer some PTSD symptoms, so did the officers, because it was that confusing and that much chaos.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that it's very easy to point blame, but we have to remember children need to point blame. They want an immediate answer for something, and so they look for blame. And we're adults. And so there's just more to it than just pointing the finger and blaming one or the other.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot more complex situation than just who's to blame. There's a lot of people to blame, and most of them were inside the Capitol that day.
I believe so. They weren't even outside, yeah, and
No,
they weren't even part of the protest. We should say, you know, because some people did wind up inside the Capitol, but
It would be really
it
interesting
had
to
been
know how
days
they ended up there
before.
before any breaches happened. How Trump supporters were inside the Capitol before any breach ever happened.
Right.
I would love to know the answer to that.
And we have absolutely proof. It's documented. It has been aired on mainstream media. Of course, you don't hear about it anymore. But there were FBI and other three-letter organizations in the protest crowd.
Well, and they were
plain
in the
clothed.
Capitol before the breaches, and the government absolutely admits that some of those people were government officials.
Yeah. And so what do we know? Do you know anything more than I do? Rebecca, too, does anyone know more than I do about the building that they're actually in at the D.C. jail, how it was shut down for a very long time, basically in a condemned condition?
Yeah,
and it was
so there shouldn't
my
be
understanding,
anybody living there.
right, and my understanding is 1 month before January 6th, it was suddenly opened.
That is something that I've heard too, but I don't know the veracity of all that.
Right. So if anybody wants to try to dig up and find out more information about that particular building that they're being housed in, you know, that's definitely a track worth walking down, I think.
Absolutely.
To find out more.
They knew beforehand.
And that's a month before. This is our general knowledge of it.
Exactly. And you know, they anticipated arresting Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Why?
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, if you continue to ask questions, you'll continue to get answers. You just got to keep digging.
That's right. And more is revealed every day, thank God. The truth will come
Not
out.
any thanks to the Speaker of the House.
Right. Yeah. What's up with that dude? Mike Johnson, we're not pleased with you at all.
I think we know.
Yep.
If you have to ask
talk about a super
questions
plant.
like that, then you know that person doesn't stand on the values that they say they stand on. You can have a lot of pretty speak, but if you don't follow through with your actions, all it is speak.
That's right. Why do you keep voting Democrat? Why do you keep voting Democrat? Mike Johnson, we want to know. What are you up to?
Well,
And Trump coming out and saying that he thinks a lot of him, I don't understand. I don't understand that either.
I don't either.
So I'm not gonna sugarcoat that one. I don't understand it.
He's trying to play politics.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's beneficial to make face to anybody.
Because you're endorsing them.
We're not on the same side, and I don't like you because we're not on the same side. It's never personal.
Right.
Like, I don't care about your personal. I'm not here to make friends like that. I'm here for a movement. If we make friends, that is an added bonus and a silver lining.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm here to get my husband and take him home. Back
That's
to
right.
Texas, where the good food is. We can carry our guns.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Amen.
and we can be safe. I don't feel safe here in D.C. because I don't have a gun, but I know all the criminals do.
Yeah. They have guns and eggs. So.
And ill-fitting pants.
Right? I don't understand. Thank you, Tammy.
Yes,
God bless you. So God bless Tammy. She is a warrior for truth and justice, and we appreciate her, as we do Rebecca, who is at the January 6th vigil almost every single night. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you. So I'm going to go see what's up with my parking. I think I'm going to have to move the car.
Yeah.
And yeah.